Welcome to a demo of InQ Ledger. We are going to start by creating a new company. I've got a few test companies in here, so we're just going to call this my company 36. Nope, 37. Now, once you click to create your company, the company name will stay there, and then you can select the tax structure. Sole proprietor, single member LLC, S Corp, C Corp, partnership. We haven't built nonprofits in yet, but that is coming. You can select your fiscal year start month, which with us, we're going to do an S Corp, so that has to be January. And while we do have this built in as an option, not everything is wired up in the system yet. So right now we're only doing cash basis. If that's a problem right now, InQ Ledger is not for you at this moment because not everything is wired up unless you're doing cash basis. So if you're doing cash basis, you're good. Go ahead and hit continue complete setup. Now, when you get in here, it will give you import from QuickBooks, quick start, skip setup. Now, we're going to import from QuickBooks, but before we do that, I want to show you a couple things, so I'm going to skip the setup. Our motto is books built for taxes. So to that end, what we do is we tailor your default chart of accounts to the tax return. So for this return, for this company, we selected S Corp as the tax status. So when you go into the chart of accounts, gross receipts or sales, line 1A, other income, line 5, returns and allowance, 1B, advertising, line 15, bad debts, 10. These are mapped to an 1120S tax return. Now, obviously, you can edit these, delete these, or in the case of most of us, we're going to be importing our chart of accounts from QuickBooks. But if you have a new company that you are creating inside Ledger, just keep in mind that it will have a default set in here. Now, we're going to go ahead and let's say you forgot to import or you weren't able to import on that screen. You can go to here, File, Import from QuickBooks Desktop, and it takes you here. So, if you need help figuring out how to get the data from Desktop, that is a separate video. Watch that first and then come back to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to import an IIF file from QuickBooks Desktop. And I have one labeled right here, InQ Test. It found 129 accounts, 4 customers, 1,002 vendors, 0 transactions. These do not import transactions. I believe they used to, but they don't anymore. So we're going to click Next to let it, and it's going to just give us a review. You can check, or leave it checked or unchecked transactions. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to start import. Now, my chart of accounts is imported. I'm going to select which bank account I want to import. We're going to go ahead and do this equity bank. And then test bank. And that's showing that 294 transactions are going to be imported. And import from the bank. Now you see the full overview. 129 accounts, 4 customers, 1,002 vendors, 294 transactions. Go ahead and open the company. And if you go to your chart of accounts, you will see a full chart of accounts. Everything that was built, that was brought in from QuickBooks Desktop. One thing I do recommend whenever you import a chart of accounts from QuickBooks, it does not delete the default chart of accounts that was in here. That is a future upgrade, but it's not in here yet. So for right now, you might want to find the checking account, just the regular checking account, and delete that, just so it's not in there. Also, you may find your bank that you use most often, which for this company is this equity bank. Go in here, edit account, and select to use it as default. So just some couple of tips right there while you're doing this. Now, when you go into the check register and select the account, you will see there are a few uncategorized ones. These are usually payroll accounts because those are split in QuickBooks Desktop, and when you export the CSV file, there's no way to do this. However, when you scroll down here to Quick Trip, automobile expenses, Zio's Pizza, Meals Entertainment, Office Depot, Office Supplies, Ameristar, Owner's Draw. Most of your categorizations that you did in QuickBooks Desktop should flow into Ledger when you do the import. There'll just be these few that you have to fix because there was no way to import them with the CSV. All right. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if you are importing more accounts from QuickBooks, you need to go to File, Import from QuickBooks Desktop. There's also an Import Bank Transaction CSV, but that is different. The QuickBooks ones are formatted in a certain way, and so these are different options. So if you're bringing accounts over from QuickBooks, you'll use this option. Skip the IIF import the next time because we've already done that. So then you would select your next account, Bank Liberty, and you would find that bank account. We're not going to do that right now because I only imported one from QuickBooks. So we're going to do that later. Now let's say you're ready to import transactions from your actual bank account or the client's bank account. They send over the CSV file or you're able to get in there. That is where you'll import a bank CSV. And then you will select the account. In this case, I'm going to just do Bank Liberty. And we're going to pull some of these test data. One row. So you'll do some mapping, date, description, amount. You can do those if you want to. It'll give you an overview of what everything is. Stripe transfer, client ACH, so you can see the deposits. Import those. And there you go. Now these are all uncategorized because I use sample data, things that I don't have set up on the chart of accounts yet, so that's why these are uncategorized. Now we have our profit and loss reports. Shows you everything so far. Balance sheet, cash flow statements. We're budget versus actual, which doesn't really do much yet. That's more of a future feature, but we have the beginnings of it in here. Accounts receivable. Don't have anything in there right now, but you can use that feature if you want to. 1099 vendors. You can track any vendor that needs a 1099. And I'll show you some of these other features in an existing account here in a few minutes. Vendor list, that's a good one for right here though. Shows all the vendors / payees. Whenever you reconcile an account, it'll show up here. Some of these features like write check, transfer funds, create invoice, receive payments, make deposits, those exist for tracking purposes, but you can't print checks through here. We're not set up for that. It's tracking. Transfer is just one way to transfer from a savings checking back and forth, checking if you want to do it outside of the register. But you can also do it from inside the register by just creating the payee as the other account. So here's where you enter your bills. There's several vendors built in here, and you can always create a new vendor. That's just for, again, tracking purposes. You can't pay them through here, but you can, after you enter the bill, mark it as paid through this system here. So for tracking purposes only, as far as that goes. Now, I'll show you the reconcile feature. We're going to set it up for 1/1 of 26 to 01/31 of 2026. 30,880.90, if I remember correctly, was the ending balance. And then you'll see it automatically selects all the transactions in the date we set up. Because I typed in the right ending balance that it was expecting, the difference is 0, and we can finish that reconciliation. Now back to the reports. In the reconciliation summary, it shows right there. If for some reason you need to unreconcile a report, you just select which account it's for, and you can undo the last one. So now InQ Ledger does not have payroll built in, but we do support importing CSV payroll transactions from most major payroll providers. Gusto right now, we're going to go to this Gusto payroll journal, total debits, total credits. Now salaries and wages is where you would expect, payroll tax expense, sure, cash, that just shows you what bank we're mapping it to. If this is the wrong bank, feel free to fix it. We do not have all of these accounts set up yet, so what you can do if they're already set up is you can find them in here. So this one, federal income tax payable, is federal withholding. Social Security payable, employee, payroll liabilities. This one is FICA. Now I'm going to show you what happens if they don't already have that account built in. Is you can click create new account, it creates the account, and it'll automatically add that to the chart of accounts. And I'm going to do that for these last few just to show you that. And that one was working. Alright, we'll go ahead and import that. And then if you look at our journal, it shows the journal entry that came in, shows the payroll. And then if we go to our register for this account, you will see that it imported the journal, and if you look at the split button, you will see a breakdown of everything. And it also put it on the pay date. So we imported it today, but it put it on the correct date. We have a memorized transactions area where you can set up the equivalent of kind of like rules in QuickBooks. So if you have certain transactions that are always certain things, you can create that here. And I will show you that in the other company account. We do have just basic inventory tracking. This is not a point of sale system. This is more for entering ending inventory, beginning inventory, that sort of thing. Just basic tracking, not live inventory. We also have a custom links area, so if you have websites that you visit quite often and while you're doing this, say you want to enter in Bill.com is the example that's in here, but if you also use ADP for payroll or Gusto for payroll, you want to enter in your payroll provider here and have a quick link so you can work on the books and then get to the payroll quickly, you can enter that in here. And then once you save one of the providers in here, you'll click on the custom link and it'll open in your default browser. Again, just a way to get there quickly, and there's 4 of those custom links that you can set up now. And as you can see, you can have multiple tabs, windows open at a time. I mean, as many as you have room for. Not reconciliation, but you can definitely do some multitasking in here if you need to. So, but we close all of this. All right. Another thing to look at too, you have the option to set a password for the file. This is not a requirement, unlike QuickBooks Desktop. We trust you to implement your own security. So if you need a password on this file, feel free to set one. If you don't worry about it. And you can also remove the password if it doesn't need it and you have already set one. So, all right, we're going to open a different file now. We're going to go in here to this InQ test one. And here I already have some memorized transactions. I have classes set up because this one has a rental property. It also has fixed assets because, again, it has a rental property, so I set up the house and the land with their depreciation. And if you look at their reports, the profit and loss, it defaults to all classes, but you can also separate by class and you can see the number changes because it's just showing the expenses related to the rental. One thing to keep in mind, some people will like and some people will dislike, this does show the full year depreciation on the profit and loss and balance sheets no matter when you look at this. So if you look at it in January or July, it's still going to be the same depreciation listed if the assets haven't changed because it calculates the full year depreciation upfront and puts it on both. So if you don't like it, I apologize, but that is the way we have it set up right now. One feature of this as well is when you have different classes, if you want to import bank transactions, we're going to do Chase for right now or Community America, it doesn't matter. You can actually set up this whole thing and to be in that class if your client uses one bank account for rentals and that's only for that rental, then another bank for another rental. So you can actually assign the whole bank transaction to that class. And then when we go to the reports, the profit and loss, you will see that it changed quite a bit. So there's a lot of uncategorized expenses because we didn't categorize anything from that last one. One thing we haven't talked about yet is the quick overview screen here. It just shows your income year to date, expenses year to date, profit year to date, and the bank balance that we are currently showing. So in this case, with this particular company, the profit and bank balance are the same, but that is because it started with a $0 bank balance. We are constantly working to make InQ Ledger a bigger and better system with more features. However, we feel that some systems like QuickBooks Desktop are too feature rich and most people do not use half of what is built into there. So we are trying to focus on what tools people use and build those in. To that end, if you have any issues with Ledger or you just want to request a feature, you can hit the help button right here, scroll down to the bottom, and you can submit feedback, report a bug, or request a feature. Doesn't matter which one you do, you just enter your name, email, and the feature you want, and it will be sent to us directly. We do look at every single request. If it is a bug, we try to have it fixed within 48 hours. If it's a feature request, we will log that, and when we get enough requests for the same feature, we will look at implementing that. And then we always welcome any feedback that you want to give us. Thank you for watching this demo of InQ Ledger. There is a guide built in here if you have any questions, or feel free to reach out. Thank you.